Hello and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blank Gates and Gordon Gord. All right, so this is for uh, my attempt to continue with the concept I call 10 o'clock at Tbilisi, 10 o'clock in Tbilisi, 10 o'clock at Tbilisi, 10 o'clock at 10 o'clock in Tbilisi, which means that I am attempting to be more consistent with the time so that people can uh, tune in. And well, what do we got going on? Yesterday, my battery died while I was making the video, which is fine. Anyways, let me show you what's going on. What just happened? That's Gordon scratching. So right now, uh, hopefully, I'm updating my thing, my software. As you can see here, nothing is working. Well, I suppose this is probably working. So we can refresh this one. Oh yeah, so we got to open everything up. So we open our Docker. While we're opening the Docker, I'll just take a quick peek here. Yeah, so we got our prompts ready to go. So next thing is to open up our cursor and our windsurf. Now, when we open up the cursor in the windsurf, the first thing we need to do is go into the Notion page because we need to calibrate. What does calibration mean? Now, I got to tell you, when I'm coaching people, I call them students. I don't like the word coachy, coachy, coachy. When I'm coaching people, what I've discovered is that I can use these calibration documents in order to Gemini. Now I got this issue because I'm logged into my browser with one email, and then I have the uh, stunning videos. Well, it sounds lovely. All right, so I have a couple of the coaches that I work with over here. Okay, so you can see I've renamed liaison and architect, and then there's a couple of people here that I coach. Let's go into Eulia. I think she's probably one of the only people who actually watch my YouTube channel intermittently. Okay, so what I used to have Yulia on my other account. So what I did was I wanted to calibrate a window, a Gemini Advanced window, so that when I talk to her, I can use my app, and it's already connected to uh, AI. All right, so I put in the first project. It says, okay, I understand. I put in the second document. I put in the third document. And then when I put in the fourth document, I put in the images because, of course, at the end of this document, it has a list of images. So I need those to be connected to the actual images. And then I add a couple more images because you can only upload 10 at a time. This likely illustrates the close relationship dependent. Okay, well, maybe it doesn't make the connection. Then I put in the fifth document. And then, okay, so I want you to be a separate role right now. I'm not building a project, but I'm working with another project. We're going to use your understanding of the modules, and we're going to help us to brainstorm and create objectives for a project. Okay, so it's ready to go. This is what it means to calibrate your AI. Now, in ChatGPT, we call these custom GPTs. Custom GPTs is when you train the model to think in a certain way, which I want it to think like this. Management, guidance, application, vision, brainstorm, objective, choose, etc. to help you think through and plan your current different project. Right? So, okay, so do you have a vision? And then, okay, so I talked to this person, and well, I won't go into all the details of that person's what she said, but basically it's a photo. It's a company that shoots photos. They give photo shoots for women's pregnancy and also for e-commerce businesses. So here you go. So you can see there's a B2C element, which is high-end pregnancy photography, and then there's this other one, which is a premium e-commerce photography. Let's break it down with brainstorming. And based on the luxury focus full service, here are two potential personas. Okay, so we got expectant mother seeking legacy experience, demographics, age, North Shore moms. Data suggests a significant portion of mothers are in this range with a high household income, affluent suburbs of Sydney, household income, occupation, education, psychographics, and values. And yeah, so that's interesting. It goes through all these things. Now, it didn't actually work like this the first time I went through it. And the reason it didn't work like this is because I didn't upload the documents properly. In fact, we could actually look at this. If we go back to my old Gemini, we can go into, we can find Eulia. Here it is. So I uploaded all the documents, and it actually doesn't work as well if you just attach all the documents. And also sometimes it's like, hey, I can't actually read this because it's like it's telling me that it's a PDF. Well, actually in this case it's saying it's fine. All right, so it actually did go through all the documents to some extent. Anyways, I feel like this time, so it actually goes through and explains these different, it goes through, provides a bunch of extra details. And then we go through the brainstorm module about how we're going to win, how to communicate with your customer, engage expectations related to their ad account. It goes through some ideas. Understand the competitive field and development initial ideas for marketing ad campaign, including social media. Then it goes through some data. And then, okay, so actually the last time what happened was the Gemini Advanced, it produced a whole list of questions. So it goes through the vision module questions, and then it also goes through the brainstorming module questions for two specific endeavors. One is how to communicate with the customer, engage expectations related to their ad account. So that's what it did. Okay, this is excellent. You've clearly defined vision for your marketing guidance project using. Okay, so the vision module to provide marketing guidance and advertising strategy, including automation to a photographic business, attract new clients through the growth, achieve, help. Okay, so it explains the vision. Now, what is this? So in this case, what it's doing is it's using this methodology, which I've created over a long period of time. We got these questions, and then which means that it created a project, and then it's talking about the project vision, and then now it's going to start talking about objectives. All right, so here is that vision. It has a very, very clear vision. And then now it's going down to here. It's going to this brainstorming module, and it's going to go through a whole series of questions. What are the best practices for client communication in ad account management? So we got some answers: regular cadence, transparency, dedicated point of contact, visual reporting, perspective updates. How do agencies typically set expectations around ad performance, reporting, and communication frequency? All right, so we got discover phase, formal agreement. We got under promise, over deliver, client education. What tools and platforms are used for client communication and project management in this context? We got project management, communication, reporting, ideate. So then we got, all right, now when you go, after you get through all of these questions using the brainstorm module, then what are we going to do? And then here's project 2. All right, so then my expectation is what? So now, what exactly? So here it's a detailed breakdown. Should provide very strong starting point for developing strategies for your client. Next step is to discuss these ideas with the photography business, and then use the choose module to prioritize, and the objectives module to detail selected strategies. Exactly. All right, so the next step for me is I'm going to have a meeting with this girl, and we're going to read this together. We're going to discuss all the points because these are the answers to actually her homework. I gave her the question, and then she's going to go and we're going to compare her answers and my answers. And then after we finish the comparison, then we're going to make some selections. She's going to give me some feedback. After she gives feedback, then I'm going to ask it to use the either. So if she uses, so we can use the choose module. If we want the AI to do the choosing process for us, we can just ask it, okay, so what would you recommend in the choose module? And then I can say, okay, so this is the feedback from the girl from the uh, the ad agency. And then it'll say okay, and then I'll say, all right, so now can you elaborate on the object using the objectives module and give us a series of objectives? I don't want to exactly up. Okay, we're gonna not restart. Okay. All right, so that's the plan for today. I'm gonna meet this lady today, and then we're gonna go through this experience together. So as you can see, I'm already able to provide coaching services using my methodology, and there's going to be some additional modules that I can add in the future. But as per now, I can actually use AI. In fact, anybody can use, if you have these documents, you can then create your um, custom GPT, and then you wouldn't actually need to buy my app for the purpose of creating projects and creating objectives. But you still would need the app in order to keep a record. So, see, the problem with Google Gemini, it's the same problem that I experienced with Google Docs. So, what's the difference between Google Docs and Google Gemini? In both cases, you have just a long string of characters. So, how do I actually keep specific types of information in specific boxes? All right. So what an app does is I create a project, and then now I have a list of projects. So it's a starting point. Now, if I click one project, then I can go into that project and I can see a history. What is the history? The history is how many different modules did I use in that specific project. And then I can go into a specific module, and I can go into the module that we're focused on right now. And then once I get into that module, likely there's going to be some connection to a scoreboard. So the scoreboard is connected directly to an objective, and the objective is connected, is listed in the history. All right. So if I want to go to the scoreboard, like I'm still considering what to do here, because technically the objective and scoreboard is together, it's connected. But like, so if I have two objectives inside of a project, then I would need to go to that specific objective, and then the tasks are related to that objective. So then the question is, do I have another like view where I can view it from a task view, or I can view it from an objectives view? But you know, at that point, we're talking about how do you connect your app to like monday.com or ClickUp or something, because that in ClickUp or monday.com, that's where you're going to have separate projects. Those separate projects are going to be represented here by separate objectives, and then you're going to have a list of tasks. So it's not necessarily important for me to have all of the tasks that, I mean, the scoreboard figured out, because there's already a billion apps that do that. So what I'm really focused on is how do I create a list of objectives? How do I create a list of tasks? Just like here. So you can see here that what are we trying to do here? We're trying to figure out what exactly to do. And we haven't made a list of tasks yet. In fact, we haven't made a list of objectives yet. In fact, we haven't defined the specific projects yet. Yeah, it's true that we have two basic endeavors. So one endeavor you can see here is, okay, so getting an understanding of the competitive field and beginning to put together some ideas that could start thinking about for the future ad campaigns and marketing campaigns, including social media. All right. So this is like, what is the ad campaign going to look like? And then the first one is like how to communicate with the customer, expectations related to their ad account. Right. So let's say you're an ad agency, you're going up to the potential customer and you're like, all right, so we need to have a chat. So the first thing, understand the customer, and then you have to get the customer to talk about their ad account and what their expectations are. Then once you understand their expectations, then you can go in and talk about, all right, so based on what you've told me, these are some of my thoughts about some future ad campaigns. So that's really the objective. So at this point, we don't have a task list yet. We're trying to understand what those objectives are going to look like, because right now our main project is understand what the customer's expectations are, and then number two, provide some details about the direction of an ad campaign. And then once that's finished, then we can start going into, okay, what's the next project? So the next project is specifically, what are we going to deliver in our ad campaign? And what are we going to deliver in our ad campaign? It's going to start with a vision. And then inside that vision, there's going to be objectives. Now the question is, what does this have to do with Monday.com? It has nothing to do with Monday.com. All right. So Monday.com doesn't help you to think through those problems. It doesn't give you a vision module to discuss the vision. It doesn't give you an objectives module to talk about the objectives. It doesn't give you a brainstorming module to think about what really matters most and how do we list ideas and how do we then create a list of objectives and then how do we turn those objectives into tasks. Once we get the tasks, then we can plug it into Monday.com. All right, so that's the project. Now, how do we get this engine started? So, okay, so what was I just covering? I was covering the idea that if I plug in these 5 documents and these images into Gemini, into Google Gemini, I then have a custom GPT. I know how to use this custom GPT because I've used this methodology for a long time. I created it using like 400, talking to 400 people over 4,000 hours with the book Create Crucial Insight. I hope I didn't just delete it. I had to delete a bunch of documents just now because I ran out of memory, which I think is absolutely insane. Oops. Actually, I don't really want that in there. Yeah, so I started out this process by going to Silicon Valley. I went there after I lived in China for 10 years. And I was like, hey, I need to understand how to do business. And so I met this guy, Thomas Buchholz, and he's like, yeah, a lot of people, they do an MBA, they learn all kinds of stuff, but they don't really have like a method for thinking, like a generalized pattern of thinking for solving problems that can be used in a vast array of areas. So like Tom, he made this stuff. Like here, so Dr. Buchholz's clients and employers have included large and small enterprises in aerospace, agricultural research, business services, computing, defense, education, energy utilities, government, healthcare, high technology, innovation, insurance, internet, law enforcement, politics, research and development, telecommunications, and venture capital. Tom served or on elected or appointed boards or in various volunteer capacity for a residential cooperative, a swim club, organizations in academia, innovation, and public policy. It's funny, it's like a swim club, and then you go up here and it's co-CIO for the United States federal government's executive branch. So where was the swim club? Is this the president's swim club? So it's funny. Uh, anyways, I still can't find these interviews. I was always interested in wondering. I was always wondering where is these 250 interview format television programs discussing business, charitable, community, education, government. I was always wondering where this is, and I've never been able to find it. Anyway, so I'm reading Tom's book. I'm in Silicon Valley. I'm going to all these startup events. And it's like, okay, so your money, and then you're gambling, right? You're just gonna throw it in on the roulette table and hope that one of these little things like wins. Like that doesn't really make sense. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep the money in my pocket. You see here, so Tom, he says, listen, if you're going to put a bunch of money into an endeavor, you may win. You may get enough luck. It may push you forward. All right. So then you make some progress. And then what happens next? You put in some more money, put in some more thought. And then it's like, all right, 50-50 chance. Are you going to get the insight, which produces some kind of good output? Are you going to make a mistake? It sends you back to the drawing board. It's like, no, spend more time thinking about what you're doing. So what he means is you got to use my direct outcomes checklist. So I take it to I talked about it for 4,000 hours with 400 people, and then at the end of this process, I just realized, okay, this piece of his book, in fact, this is specifically his book talks about this, but then this also generally comes from elements of his book, so it's not solely his book, but there's other concepts from other places that eventually came together to create this thinking model. Then I plugged the thinking model into an AI chatbot, but this AI chatbot, it can't maintain the documentation as well as I would like. It doesn't save information within. See, this is like it's a tree, right? It's like it branches the information. There's the large category is projects, and then the smaller category is So every project has a vision. And then every project has a vision and it has multiple objectives. And every objective has multiple tasks. So that's the way it branches out. But it's really hard to keep track of those tasks using this software. And I mean, you could try to keep track of the objectives. So this is monday.com right here. That's ClickUp in this section here. But then how do you actually create, how do you create the objectives? Where do the objectives come from? That comes from Tom's work, the brainstorming and the choosing. Anyway, so let's get the engine started. So that's the first section. Now in the second section, we actually used Cursor and Windsurf. We asked it, okay, so based on this project, how should we build this piece of software? And then we got a response. We created the tech stack markdown file. So then we tell Google Gemini that this is our tech stack. And then we did a whole other experience where we went into this girl. It's called what is it called? I can't remember suddenly. Marketing design, something marketing design. Yeah, so that's a problem because if you're going to create inside marketing design. So we went into this girl inside marketing design and we jumped into her page. She used to have 4 playlists. Somehow one of her playlists disappeared. Okay, it's back. All right, so I jumped in. I took all of her videos and I put it into Notebook LM. Now, once you have her stuff into Notebook LM, here it is, inside marketing design. You go in here, you can see all of these. I got all of her videos here. And then I just said, like, how do I create a brand book? So then, and then we did some brainstorming and we ended up creating a simplified brand book. All right, so now our AI has an understanding of the tech stack and the brand book. And then over the sprint 1, okay, so we created a sprint. We have all the sprints, and then I just talked to the architect and liaison during the last sprint, and I asked it to give us some advice for like how do we communicate with each other, how do we work together in order to create software. And then at the end of the sprint, then we also had lessons learned from sprint 1 for the liaison and the architect. All right, so with all these files, now I got these. So here's my liaison and here's my architect. That's not my architect. Here's my liaison and here's my architect. They're 100% ready to go. And if I lose those windows, or if I lose my account, or if I decide to use a different AI tool, I still have all these documents which I can plug into ChatGPT, I can plug into Claude, I can plug it into anywhere, and then boom, they're up and running. They're calibrated. I have a custom GPT. Next is the master prompt. All right, so this is where we are now. So what happens with the master prompt is, I just turned on my cursor. So what do I do with cursors? So I just select all, copy, jump into cursor. I have cursor at the bottom now, I think. I just plug this in here, go up and erase that first one. Oops. All right, so we go high cursor, and then we ding dong ding, and then then I go select all. So what this does is it calibrates the cursor window, and it calibrates the Windsurf window, and it gets the entire. You have Docker installed in your system. Do you want to install Docker? Okay, why not? It's interesting. I can do 2 things at the same time. All right, so now we're connected to Docker. I don't know if that was helpful or not. By default, Windsurf uses Mir opened Kubernetes, develop and deploy. I don't know what that is. All right, let's talk to the, well, I'll just do it like this. Hello, hello, hello. Windsurf just recommended that I use their Docker extension. And I also see that they're recommending Kubernetes extension. Could you go online and try to understand what is MS Kubernetes tools, and also look at what is this Docker MS Azure tools? And do I need to have the Docker MS Azure tools extension connected to my Windsurf project? And should I add the Kubernetes MS Kubernetes tools application extension for deploy, debug, and develop? Are these useful extensions, or should I just not use them? All right, now technically I'm not really supposed. Well, all right, so what is your opinion about this? My opinion is that if we go into the concept of, we go into the concept of, what is it? It's called RACI matrix. We go into the RACI matrix, we're asking about a tool. So when you're deciding which tool to use, then probably you're going to be asking the developers, you're going to be asking the testers, and the architect, right? All right. So in this case, it was the actual developer that recommended the tool, and so yeah, that's why I asked the architect what the architect thinks about it. All right. Okay, I'm gonna just listen to the audio. So let's do it like this. It's giving me a British accent these days. I don't know why. Kubernetes. Yeah, I can't wait to hear that one.
Okay, I understand Windsurf is recommending a couple of Visual Studio Code extensions. Let's break down what they are and whether they're relevant for our Management Guidance App MVP project. The extensions you mentioned are likely. 1. Kubernetes by Microsoft, often referred to as MS Kubernetes Tools. 2. Docker by Microsoft. This is the primary Docker extension and includes features for Azure Container Registry, so it might be what Windsurf refers to as Docker MS Azure Tools. There's also a broader Azure Tools pack by Microsoft that includes Docker among many other Azure service extensions. Here's what they do and my assessment for our project. 1. Kubernetes extension by Microsoft. What it is: this extension helps developers work with Kubernetes directly from VS Code. Kubernetes is a powerful open-source system for automating the deployment, scaling, and management of containerized applications. The extension provides features like IntelliSense for Kubernetes manifest files, YAML, browse and managing Kubernetes clusters, deploying applications to Kubernetes clusters, debugging applications running in Kubernetes, integration with Helm, a package manager for Kubernetes. Do you need it for this project? No, not for the current MVP and our planned deployment. Rationale: overkill for MVP. Kubernetes is designed for complex microservices architectures and large-scale deployments. Our MVP is a Next.js application, and the plan is to deploy it to Vercel. Vercel handles deployment. Vercel is specifically built to deploy Next.js applications seamlessly. It handles the scaling, serving, and much of the operational complexity for us. We don't need to manage a Kubernetes cluster for this project. Added complexity. Introducing Kubernetes would add a significant layer of.
All right, then we got the Docker extension. Do you need it, and should it be connected to your Windsurf? Potentially useful, but not strictly necessary. We use Docker locally. The extension can provide visual interface with Windsurf. Not essential. You can consider installing if you think this is directly with your ID. You might be streamlined. Okay, not critical. Summary. All right, so we're not gonna do Kubernetes. but we can add Docker. All right, this down here is also asking, should we add Docker? Let's install it on both of our systems. Purdue, Docker dev containers. What happened? It also wants me to install Kubernetes. That's weird. Why is it that they're both reacting the same way? All right, anyways, let's close this stuff up. So the way that I do my development environment, I have a picture of the terminal down here. And for some reason, I don't see this. I need to open Cascade. There we go. Okay, all components are initialized and verified, are working correctly. Development environment is ready to use. How about this one? Your environment is okay. So everything's now. Let's check it. So we're going to check the first one. Up and ready to go. I'm going to check the next one. Up and ready to go. Check the next one. Up and ready to go. There you go. So everything's fine. Everything's up. Everything. This is the whole point. And then what's going on next? So the next is we're doing sprint 2 right now. The imagine and pick a role. So the thing is, when you create the 2 custom GPTs, then one of them were, they're both calibrated with the same documents, and then I just have them have a little conversation between each other to decide which one's going to be the liaison, which is going to be the architect, and then they have a little chat, and then now it's 100% calibrated, and then now we're here, current step calibration. So once we finished, I could ask it to update this document right now, but the thing is that it's been so smooth recently that basically I've just been doing copying and pasting. So what's this one? This one's for cursor. It's just been so. Just stop. Hide this one. So this one down here is using Gemini 2.5 Pro. It's using the updated version. And Cascade is. I was using ChatGPT, but why? Why use ChatGPT 4.1 when everybody knows that Claude 3.5 Sonnet is the best? And then finally in Replete, we got we're also using Claude 3.5 Sonnet. And there you go. That's how she works. You can see the little button here, it says generating. Also, I can see the window here. It says generating just right next to my window. And I can see this one's generating. So now everything's generating. And then suddenly the video just gets really boring because, all I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till it finishes generating. Like this one looks like it finished generating. And then I'm going to copy it. That one's called cursor. So I just write cursor, paste it. And then how's Windsurf? Looks like it's still generating. And Replete is still generating. Yeah, so until we run into a major problem, I mean, my videos becomes extremely boring because it's just like needlework. Just all the systems are running. So that's what this Notion page is really about. It's creating the calibration tools, getting everything up and running. And once everything's up and running, then, until we run into a major issue, what do you want to, what is there to show you? So Windsurf, it allows you to do this. You can copy and paste, and you can move the window up as you're copying and pasting. That does not work with Windsurf. Although with cursor Windsurf. But cursor has a button that you can actually copy So they do this with very different methods. All right, so we're just going to wait on this, but I got a meeting at 11. So yeah, so let's just well, I don't want to exactly wait. Replete. I don't have enough time. So replete, it's going to take a while because even after it finishes, then I'm gonna have to click that button, and then it's going to open that, and then I have to copy it, and then I have to paste it. So there. So that's how I work it. That's the way it works. And until we finish sprint number 2, and then once we finish sprint number 2, then that'll be it. All right. So thanks for joining me here at 10 o'clock in Tbilisi, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.